Hey Anthony, lots of good stuff there, man, and I gotta make this quick too because I gotta go shave my beard like you. No, wait, that's not gonna happen. Anyway, I am more than happy to put all the Miley conversation behind us and only bring her up if we absolutely have to, but I do think there's a bit more to your statement about visual culture. I mean, selling an image within the world of music, it's really nothing new. In fact, if you look back to the early days of music, that's been the case almost all along. From Elvis to Buddy Holly to Patsy Cline to Jerry Lee Lewis to Peggy Lee, you name it, it was always there. Hell, the Beatles were really the first band to master that idea of marketing an image, and they turned it into a massive money-making machine that forever changed the industry. But if you go back to any of those acts or any of their peers, there was always a solid base of musical talent to back up the image. I'm not saying that Britney Spears or LFO doesn't have legitimate musical talent, but I think we can all agree that they're on a different plane of existence from, say, Debbie Harry and the Bee Gees, because those two acts were definitely marketed in a similar manner as the other two in their respective era. But I'm gonna stop beating that horse because you made another comment that to me speaks to the #1 problem that's plagued the industry over the last decade or so: the role of shelf life and the constant turnover within the world of music. Like you said, with things like YouTube or Spotify or SoundCloud or all those other things, people can constantly have access to all sorts of new music, and that revolving door of new artists is spinning faster than ever. To me, this is ultimately very dangerous to bands because it doesn't allow them any time to really nurture their sound or really step away and be able to create from a clear, fresh perspective. I'm not saying that I want bands to be like Tool and take forever to put out what a lot of people will argue is the same album over and over again, but I really don't think the industry is allowing artists to simmer anymore. They just throw them out there, squeeze everything they possibly can out of them as quickly as possible, and then just toss them on the disposal pile. But I have to question whether or not this oversaturation is actually damaging the artist. I really think it is, and as much as I hate to say it, that almost forced moderation and time between albums, I think it was ultimately a good thing. The Beastie Boys only made 8 records over 25 years. Madonna made 12 over 30, and Michael Jackson only made 8 legitimate records over 30 years. Taking those 3 examples into account, it averages out to about 1 new album every 3 or 4 years or so. On the other side of things, Britney Spears has done 7 albums in 12 years, and Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, and yes, Miley Cyrus are averaging 1 album every single year. To me, those numbers cannot be ignored because there's only 1 or 2 musicians in the entire history of music that can have that sort of consistent output with the music being anything listenable. And I think the reason we see a lot of current stars acting out and just going crazy is because of the insane demands that are being put on them by their labels. I mean, think about it. In a lot of these cases, you have an artist who records an album, then goes out right away on a massive world tour, and as soon as that's done, they're right back in the studio making another record. There's really no time for them to actually live in there, to sit back, listen to what else is going on in music, maybe regenerate their creativity if there is any. And while I'm not saying that with a year off, I think Justin Bieber would come back with some sort of musical opus, he's really the ideal example of the music industry trying to squeeze as much as they possibly can out of an artist in as short a time as possible. I really think this idea can be applied to rock bands as well, and I think that's why you see a number of bands taking hiatuses or single members going off and doing one-off side projects. To me, the model we're seeing here is absolutely unsustainable, as you need artists and bands that are going to be around for the long haul. You really need what I'm going to call those elder statesmen of music. I don't know, it just worries me that when bands aren't given time to explore musically and to really take chances, all that's going to happen, in my opinion, is the musical mainstream is going to become more homogenous and uninspiring. But I think it's the responsibility of the buying public to demand that this change begins now, to demand better quality in their music, more interesting music, and force the industry to change its current tack. I don't know, man, what do you think? Where do you think the shift begins? Do you think this shift could even be done? I know it's a lot on your plate, but I wanted to give you something to kick around in your head. I'll see you on Friday.